We have finished our discussion on algorithm, and today we are going to start discussing another semi-formal representation of a procedure which is called flowchart. And for this lecture, I assume that you have attended the previous 3 lectures in which we have discussed algorithms for solving different computational problems. We will consider all those example problems and see how we can draw a flowchart for representing each of the algorithms that we discussed. So, if you have not watched those lectures, please do it before you do this lecture. So, today the agenda is to discuss about flowcharts. So, we need to define what a flowchart is. A flowchart is a diagrammatic representation of a procedure to solve a computational problem. So, it is a diagrammatic representation of a procedure. A step-by-step procedure is what is called an algorithm, and a diagrammatic representation is what is called a flowchart. And a flowchart uses boxes of different shapes with directed lines connecting the boxes to show the sequence of actions to be performed to compute the solution of an instance of a computational problem. So, which are the sequence of operations to be performed will be depicted using boxes and directed lines. And a flowchart represents a clear and easy to understand pictorial representation of a logic required to solve a problem. That means, if you have a procedure to solve a computational problem, then you can represent that procedure as a flowchart. Now, we can look at all those example algorithms and see how those can be represented as flowcharts. The first example is to find the largest of 2 numbers. So, this is an example flowchart which represents a procedure to find the largest of 2 numbers. First, we can see various kinds of boxes used to represent the components of a flowchart. Curved rectangle can be used to represent the start of the procedure or the end of the procedure. Start and stop can be represented by using curved rectangles. Then, a parallelogram symbol or a box can be used to represent either an input operation or an output operation like this. For reading the values of A and B, you can represent it in a parallelogram, or printing B or A, you can represent in a parallelogram. So, parallelograms represent input or output operations. Then you have diamonds to represent a comparison operation. Here you perform a comparison to see whether the value of A is greater than the value of B, and is represented by a diamond, and it will be having 1 input line and 2 output lines. One corresponds to the yes outcome of the comparison. The comparison, the result may be yes or no. For yes, there is an output line, and for no, there is another output line. And one more symbol is used here, which is the circle, which is a junction node to combine various lines into a single outgoing line. You can use a junction box. There is no other operations performed other than conjoining two lines. So these are the various box symbols that we will be using in our algorithms. And one more important box is there that we will consider when we discuss an example which needs to use it. Now, what is this flowchart doing? This is actually a representation of the algorithm that we discussed. This is the path in the flowchart to be executed or taken when the value of A given is greater than the value of B. Suppose the user is giving values for A and B such that the value of A is greater than value of B. Then what is it doing? First you read both A and B. After that you are checking whether A is greater than B. Because now you know that for this particular case A is greater than B, the yes outcome will be followed, the yes branch will be taken, and you are printing A and stopping them. So this is correct. When A is greater than B, the flowchart is performing its required action. So what if A is not greater than B? Then you are coming here, you are checking whether A is greater than B or not. Now in this case you assume that A is not greater than B, so no branch will be taken, and in that case you are printing B. So you can easily verify that this is the correct flowchart to find the largest of two numbers, A and B. Now let us proceed and see a flowchart for finding the largest of three numbers. Here again we are going to represent the algorithm that we devise as a flowchart. So here is a flowchart representing that algorithm. Please don't get worried about it. We can see in each case what is it doing. This is the first case. Among the three numbers A, B and C which you are reading, you assume that A is largest. You consider the case when A is largest. And this is the path to be taken. And what is it doing? After reading A, B and C, it is checking whether the value of A is greater than B. Because A is largest, definitely this must be true. So the flowchart is taking the yes branch out of this comparison box. Then you are checking whether A is greater than C. Because A is largest, this must be the case. A must be greater than C, and so you are again taking the yes branch and printing A and stopping. So when A is largest, the flowchart is working correctly. Next case when B is largest. So when you come to this, because B is largest among the three, this condition is failing. A is not greater than B, because B is largest means this condition is false. So you are taking the no branch, and here you are comparing B and C. You know that B is largest, so this must be true. You are taking the yes branch and printing and stopping. So when B is largest, your algorithm is printing B as largest, so it is correct. Sorry, your flowchart is printing B as largest, so it is correct in that case also. Now the only other possibility is when C is largest. There are two cases. In the first case, after reading A, B and C, you are comparing A and B. Because C is largest, this comparison may or may not succeed, and that is why you have two cases. This is the first case where suppose that A is greater than B. Then you are comparing A and C. You know that C is largest, therefore A is not greater than C. It must be a no case, and you are printing C. So C is largest. Along this path, it is correct. You are printing C. One more possibility is there. It is the case when A is greater than B. The only thing we assumed is C is largest. We don't know whether A is greater than B or not. Now suppose that A is not greater than B. Then you are taking this branch and you are comparing B and C. Because C is largest, B greater than C evaluates to false and it is no. You are coming like this and you are printing C. So in this case as well, the answer is correct, and hence now you verified that the algorithm that we devised is now represented as a flowchart, which is giving us the expected output at every possible input cases. And thus we have a correct flowchart for finding the largest of three numbers. Maybe you feel it more comfortable to use flowchart because it's easy to maybe see what the logic is saying. Now let us proceed and find an algorithm to obtain the largest of n natural numbers and see how can you represent it as a flowchart. We already have discussed an algorithm for this, and now we are going to look at a flowchart representation of that algorithm. And here is flowchart representation. Here again we can see what it is doing. In this part of the flowchart, it is reading the number of numbers and also initializing the max as 0. Not that we are asked to find the largest of n natural numbers. Hence, this initialization is okay. This is what we did in our algorithm. And after that, if you look at this portion of the flowchart, what is it doing is it is processing the next number when the next number is greater than the existing maximum. That is, you are reading the next number into value. That's what we did in the algorithm. And after that, you are checking whether the newly read value is greater than the existing maximum. For example, suppose that presently we have 10 as the maximum and now you are reading 20. In that case, 20 is greater than 10. You will take the S branch because 20 is greater than 10 and you are saying that okay, maximum is 20. That's fine. And now the remaining number of numbers is decremented because you just have processed one number. And again, you are going to repeat the same. Maybe next time it is the other case where you are reading a new value, but the newly read value is not greater than maximum. So the answer is no. In that case, you don't have to modify the maximum. You are directly going to the next number. So eventually, you will finish processing all the n numbers, and finally, after processing the last number, you have the maximum value obtained in max. You are just printing it. That is when the remaining number of numbers becomes 0, means all numbers are processed. Then you just print the maximum and stop. This is the algorithm that we devised, and now it is represented as a flowchart. Okay, now you look at the next problem, which is flowchart for reading a sequence of n numbers. Now we are going to read a sequence of numbers and store it in a sequence object S. So what's it doing? Initially, it reads the number of numbers and initializing the index to the sequence as 0. So from 0 onwards, you can stop. And what it is doing then? In a loop, it is reading the next number into the current index, and after that, the number of numbers is decremented by 1 and I must be incremented. Sorry for that mistake. Here I should also say I is equal to I plus 1. I'll change it. Sorry for the mistake in this slide. So I need n is equal to n minus 1 and I is equal to I plus 1. And then I'm going back, checking whether I need to read any more numbers. If I have to read any more numbers, n should not be 0. is no, and I am repeating it. So eventually I will read all the numbers and finally I can stop. So this is the procedure that we devised to read a sequence of numbers into a sequence object, and now we represented that as a flowchart. Not that I need one more statement in this data processing block, which is to increment the value of I. Now we can look at a flowchart representation for our linear search algorithm. Here is a flowchart. We can see what is it doing. Initially, it is reading the number of elements. Then it reads the sequence, maybe using the previous flowchart, and also it initializes the index as 0. Okay. Then what is it doing? Then after that, using a loop, what is it doing is it is examining the next element in the sequence and finishing when this key value is found. That means you are checking whether you have the current element as the element that you are searching for. You are searching for the key value, and if the current position contains the key value, then that means key is present at that particular index. In that case, you are printing that the key is present at that index in the sequence, and you are stopping. That's correct if it is present. Now the other case is when you are inspecting the next element, it is not the key that you are looking for. It's not the key means, okay, you have to proceed to the next element. Okay, in this case as well, I need an increment operation for I. Sorry for that mistake, I will add it. You need n is equal to n minus 1 and I is equal to I plus 1 in this box. I will add it. Okay, you please assume that I have I is equal to I plus 1 in this data processing block. So I am proceeding to the next one in this case. And finally, I will process all the numbers, or I will examine all the elements in the sequence. If the remaining number of numbers in the sequence is 0, means I have examined all the elements from index 0 to index n minus 1, and no other element is present. That means no element is present and I have not printed, means the key is not present. So you are printing that it is not present and stopping. This is exactly the algorithm that we discussed, and now it is represented as a flowchart. Not that I need an increment operation in this data processing block. A rectangle represents a data processing block. Now we can proceed to the last example for this lecture, which is a flowchart representation of the bubble sort algorithm that we discussed in the previous lecture. And here is a flowchart representation. See what is it doing? Initially, it is reading the number of elements in the sequence and the sequence. Then it is initializing the round as 1. Note that we wanted to perform interchanging n minus 1 round, starting from 1 to n minus 1. That is why the round is initialized as 1. Then within each round, what I am doing is, you know that for all index values j, from 0 to n minus round plus 1, I is the round number. What we did is, we have to consider the adjacent elements at j and j plus 1. If their order is not in the required manner, interchange. So you are checking whether the element at the first index is greater than the element at the next index. That means the first element is greater, so you have to interchange. So AS means you have to interchange the elements at j and j plus 1. Sorry for this typing mistake. It should be j and j plus 1. So interchanging, okay, that's fine. And now incrementing j to the next index, and you are proceeding. Okay, that's what you are doing. Now the other case is when you are inspecting a pair, no interchange is required. It means first index value is not greater than the value at the second index. So the answer is no, means no interchanging. Interchanging is y cross, and you are proceeding to the next index value for j. And after that, what you do, once you finish all required interchanging within a round, you have to increment the round. You are incrementing the round I and proceeding to the next round of interchanging. That is what we devise as bubble sort algorithm. And finally, the round number will become n. That means the n minus 1 rounds are finished and you can just stop. So this is the algorithm that we devised. And now we have represented it as a flow chart. I hope you are getting me. So today we have discussed about the flow chart representation of a procedure to solve a computational problem. Now we have two semi-formal representation of a procedure as an algorithm or as a flow chart. And all the algorithms that we discussed as examples are now represented as flow charts also. So not that there are some corrections that I mentioned during my presentation. I'll be making such changes in the slides and sending you the updated slides. Thank you.